Hey, it's your girl Nancy Red, and this is season 3 of Mompreneurs. And we all know that health is the new wealth. And this week's guest is an amazing example of this. Leticia Gardner is a fitness powerhouse who has turned her passion for beauty and wellness into incredible mompreneurship. And we love watching her and her husband's antics on social media as they build their business and care for their family and each other. Welcome, girl.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I love the whole introduction.
Oh, I'm glad because you got a lot going on. We have a lot to
I
talk about.
do.
But before we get into all your mompreneurship, let's talk about who makes you a mom. Tell us about your household.
So we are a blended family. I've been doing this mom thing for a really long time now. I was a mom at 19 and I'll be 40 next year. Our kids were a blended family. My husband had one before marriage and I had one before marriage, and then we have one together. And they are 22, 19, and then our one together is a 9-year old. So that's our babies.
I love it. Yeah, I laughed because my brother and I, there are 9 years between us. You just restarted the whole cycle.
Restarted. We was out the door.
How did you meet your hubby?
I met him back in 2009 at a club in Atlanta, outside in the streets.
You actually did the thing. There was no Tinder. There was no app.
No, in person. Back then, social media wasn't a real thing back then. It was still, that MySpace was ending, Facebook was starting. It was all of that era, but it wasn't as big as it is right now, no.
And when you all got together, did you imagine that you'd be building this fitness empire together?
We didn't think we'd even make it, let alone build something together. We were so crazy about each other, but we had to really learn balance. Like, neither one of us was ready for the explosion I think that happened when we met. We were both kind of cruising and living, but we were so crazy about each other. We didn't know what that looked like for the future. Like, we wanted to be together, but we didn't know how to be together. And then being a blended family on top of that, or having kids and different responsibilities, it was a heck of a journey. But I always knew God had something big for us. I just didn't know what it was back then.
Well, you've got a lot of big things going on.
Yeah.
And for people who are just tuning in and might not know your whole story, talk to us about what I like to call your hustle hierarchy. Like, what makes up the bulk of your business income?
Yeah, so we've been in health and fitness. Well, my husband's a retired NFL player. So getting with him even in the beginning, training, working out, I didn't even know I loved it the way I did. And I was the first one to become an entrepreneur in the fitness aspect. So when we got together, I had asked God for like vision and clarity. Like, I was in survival mode being a single mom when I met my husband. So I didn't really have a lot of direction on where my life was going at the time. But after just praying and fasting and looking for, direction, fitness came up, and I had been training my girlfriends and hanging out all the time in the gym, cooking all the time, and it became a lifestyle for me. And it clicked, and it was like, you already have everything I need you to do to move forward in this industry. So back then I started an Instagram page and I started meal prepping. So meal prepping was my first business, and then I wanted to get into the product side. Then I realized the product side is working less harder than the meal prep side. And once my husband saw that, and of course his figure, altogether just pushed him to want to get into it. We started from the ground up and building from there. And that was 2016, 17.
And here you are, 7 years later, and tell us where you've gone now. Like, what do you have happening right now?
So I started from meal prepping and work home workouts. And now we own a functional medicine clinic called Dynamic 3 Health. And this is like hormone therapy. So when you get your blood work done, men, testosterone levels, there's all type of weight loss products on there, but medical grade, stuff that help with your skin. I mean, just overall creating a healthier lifestyle, not just waist trainers, not just, workouts or training in the gym. We've taken fitness and health to a higher level, having medical directors and being telemed in all 50 states. So we're now, because Western medicine, if you go to your regular doctor, isn't going to help you when you're so tired or your libido's so low. And they just say, oh, that just comes with age. No, there's ways to feel good and to still feel youthful as possible. But if we're not checking our hormones and not getting our blood work done, if we don't know these things, then we can't go there. So that's been our biggest baby. We just launched our first location in Jacksonville, Florida, where my husband is from. But again, we are telemed in all 50 states. So you literally can call in and talk to a doctor from anywhere.
That's amazing because here's the thing, you're turning 40. I am 43. Perimenopause. People
Whew.
don't tell you about this.
The hot sweats.
Are you in perimenopause right now?
Yeah, well, so I recently went through a lot hormonally, so I just got my blood work updated, and this before last time, and it was so bad. My estrogen was bad, my progesterone was bad, my thyroid was bad. I was having hot flashes. Like they looked at my blood work and they were like, "I don't even know how you're functioning. Everything that makes you a woman, your levels are so low." And remember, like, I'm just struggling. I'm fighting for energy and not like normal. As a mom, you're always tired, right? But this was a different level. Like, I didn't know what was going on. So when I got my blood work done, I found out that I'm just all jacked up. So I got on everything that I needed to kind of help my hormones. And now I feel 25. I feel back amazing. I wake up fine. I go to sleep fine. I have the energy throughout the day. The hot flashes are gone. Like my body is just more balanced. So there's stuff that can help you with that too, for sure.
That's
We don't
amazing.
have to suffer. We don't have to suffer.
Well, I think our generation is the first generation who's just saying absolutely not. We work too
Yeah.
hard to look too good to feel this bad.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, I want to go back really quick because you mentioned, you said when I was a single mom, when you met him, your husband, who you've built these businesses with,
Mhm.
you were on survival mode.
Yeah.
Were you an entrepreneur then, or were you working a job? Were you like
I
was the
was
entrepreneur? Go ahead. Was the
Yeah,
entrepreneurial
no, I
spirit
was
there?
definitely a hustler for sure. I've always been a hustler. I've never was made to work the 9 to 5 life. I love freedom. I like my own schedule. But I was a bartender and a waitress. So I was hustling every which way I could. I was trying all types of different things, I believe, like anything that was offering something. I feel like I was on a mission to figure out something. I just didn't know what. But ultimately, being a mom, I think the most important part for me is being active and being there. I think being present is the most important thing for me. And being a mom is one of my favorite jobs in the world. And I truly feel like it's a blessing and something you nurture. And I believe kids remember you being there more than the stuff that you can buy them, you know? So even earlier on, I would bartend because, for one, I could make all the money in a couple of days while she's home asleep and then still be there and actively and still provide. So that's kind of what I did because being present was just my main thing. So I was able to work. I'd put her to bed at night. I'm home before she wakes up. It's like I wasn't even gone. I still was able to take her to school and do the whole nine. But, actively, being a bartender is not the career I want for myself forever.
It's also
But yeah,
exhausting because you were up in
it's
the
very
day with her,
exhausting.
you up in the night with them.
Yeah, it was a lot. Back then, I didn't need I didn't sleep much, but I couldn't sleep. I was so the energy being in your early 20s and 19s, I don't know where that definitely goes away as you get older, but I don't know where that energy went, but I definitely used to use every hour. But I think when you're in survival mode, it's a different level of grind inside of you that pushes you. And for me as a mom, I feel like every time it pushes me to go harder. So God knew what He was doing, giving me all the extra energy I needed.
I love it. And you've even said like once you got settled, you're doing your meal plans and everything. And when you had your second daughter with your husband, you were 30 at that point, right?
Yep, I was turning 30.
And it was a different type of pregnancy.
Very different. It was a better experience for sure. I think being a single mom, I was by myself. My appointments were lonely. It was depressing. That's why it took me 10 years to do it again for sure. But this type around, I got to stay home. I got to, my husband was at every appointment and be right there and hold my hand through labor. And it was a beautiful thing for sure. Yeah.
And it also though, you've said you're naturally skinny, and
Woo!
you're just
That
used to being able to just snap into whatever you're snapping. And then after baby two, things were
shit.
slightly different. Now, again, I laugh. Your idea of different is not my idea of different,
Listen.
but but in your world, things were
Yeah.
slightly different.
It was very different. When I was 19 and I had my first one, I'm telling you, I did 5 sit-ups afterwards. I dropped the weight before I left the hospital. But I ended my weight pregnant, gave birth at 130 pounds. That's 19 though. So I grew up 98 pounds soaking wet. So I was used to that life. So when I got pregnant at almost 30 or giving birth, I had double that and a half. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't see things I need to see anymore. It was the first time I ever realized that nutrition is super important when it comes to getting your body back down, or that snapback or whatever. Because there wasn't a snapback. This time it took me a good 7 months of going really hard, getting back to the gym, eating right, and doing everything while breastfeeding. I breastfed her for 2 years. To get my body back and just heal in a different way, for sure.
And that influenced the types of businesses you and your
Yep,
husband
it
created,
sure
right?
did.
So I know you've got your brand new functional medicine company, but you also have other elements to your mompreneurship as well.
Yes. So we have health and fitness for sure, but we have our YouTube channel. We are doing so much on social media influence. We have a women's ministry. We have a marriage ministry that we do even on our G Life Society. I feel like, whew, I don't know whenever I'm not doing something, honestly, but we really believe in just being healthy, mind, body, and soul. And we believe that you can't be your best self by yourself. So community is everything, who you're listening to. And like you said, growing up, our parents and our other generations, we didn't have the education that we had. We didn't have the conversations that we have now. And I just think those are so important to do. I think that you can be a boss woman, and you can be a submissive wife, and you can be a nurturing mom all at the same time.
Well, and that's why I love this podcast, because that's one of the things that I realize in my life. One of the reasons that I've been able to do the things that I do is because my mother was a businesswoman. My grandmother was a businesswoman. Back in the 1950s, she couldn't go to work because she had 4 children and she was an orphan, so she didn't have anybody to take care of her kids. And there was no bartending back then.
A hustle back
So
then.
that was how she and her husband started a country store. So while he was working, she could be at the store with her kids, selling goods, and that was what gave them financial freedom. So I think it is important to look at the things in your life that you can do and grow them into a business. But at
Mm,
what point, a lot of the things that you talk about, like you were both into health and fitness. Well, he was into health and fitness more than you.
for
You
sure.
grew into this. At what point did you realize that your meal planning and your social media videos, it was more than a hobby, that it was actually turning into a business?
I think first for me, it turned into a lifestyle. And that's what I feel like I influence and sell. I'm not telling you to do anything that I don't already do, but I think it changed around the time I had my daughter, but also my oldest daughter at the time. We grew up eating whatever we wanted, right? We didn't think twice about it. But my oldest daughter ended up getting a lot of weight really fast. I remember the beginning of the school year getting her all these new clothes, and then by Christmas, she couldn't fit any of them. And I started to realize that, child obesity and the things that are in foods is something you really have to take serious. And of course, I never told her that she was switching up or anything to worry about. But I started creating it as a family dynamic. Come on, we're all going to the track. Come on, we're going to have a race. Come on, we're competing. So we're not going to sit in front of this TV, or you're not going to play video games all day. We're getting the kids outside and getting them active. But I also no longer let them eat like school lunch. So it's only home lunches and home things. So that changed into a whole thing. And so all of these three things happened at one time: social media, doing meal prepping, my daughter, and that life change, and wanting to, help her in that so that she stays confident. And then also in her self-esteem, and then also the changes my body was going through with this new baby at 30 now. So putting all of that together, and social media is starting to really launch from there. It was like, oh, other parents need this, other moms need this, other people, we're not having these conversations. It's time to like really get it going. And from there, I just started creating plans and selling them, and being able to, again, be present but use my everyday life as the source of income, which is perfect.
That's amazing. What was the biggest break? When did it start going from I'm sharing myself to I'm getting deals?
Almost immediately after, I grew really fast, surprisingly. I think, and I don't know, I just, glory to God, but it really just started happening. I got a big contract with Victoria's Secret, which is their sports line. So that was major. I stopped cooking at home and just creating the meal plans, because now I could do this worldwide and send it out. I had created my own app. I had my first fitness app was Total Body 21 that I was doing, and I just reached that on a different level. So I was doing in-person classes before, but I just switched everything to online, and that transition, it just it within a couple of months, it really blew up, and it's just been growing ever since.
That's amazing. And so we see this, and you know your daughters are there with you, your husband's daughter is there with you. You recently actually shared a throwback of you and your firstborn, and it was an adorable picture of you when you were 19 and she was 4 months old, and then
Yeah.
you flipped, and then she was 19, she's now 20,
Yeah.
and
No, she's 19.
oh, she's still 19. She hasn't
Yeah,
turned 20 yet.
she hasn't turned
Okay,
20
okay, she's all right, great. It's not her birthday. When is her
yet.
birthday?
March.
Oh, okay, so she got a little
Gotcha.
bit. So
Yeah.
okay, but when you think back, so she's the same age you were when you had her. When you were, can you even imagine? Step one, having a kid. Then when you look at her and you think
Uh,
about all you poured in
Woo,
and all
thanks.
of that. What do you think about the life that you've created for her and how your mompreneurship has shaped that?
I definitely grateful because at 19, holding her in that picture, I was in the projects in Jersey. Like I have worked so hard. I have made every sacrifice possible. And it's truly just worked out. And it's been worth every fight, every battle. Because one of my biggest prayer was earlier on that when it's time for her to step outside, I want to be able to put her up. I want to be able to pay for this and take care of this and not blink an eye. I want to make sure that she has all the opportunities and she ain't scraping or begging or doing anything. I want it to be her choice. And I just don't want her to have to get it out the mud. And to say that I've been able to provide that is just it's everything. It's like it's everything, honestly.
And when you say you sacrifice so much, people are listening to this, right? And they want to do it too. They have no idea. What's your advice to someone who's sitting there wondering what sacrifice actually means? Like, what do you mean? Because of course the thing with social media, you make it look so easy,
Oof.
right? It's smooth, you know, but it's
Yeah.
not always smooth.
You know what? I think the biggest thing is that you have to release the spirit of fear. If you're not willing to jump or take a risk, then you're not going to get anywhere. I was 19 when I left with a trash bag full of clothes, and that's all I had to my name to start over. I had $323 to my name, actually. I moved to the South because in the North, it's so hard to try to provide for yourself. Everything is so much more expensive. But I had to leave my comfort zone, my friends, and everything that I knew to start over in a way that would be a little bit slower for her. Like culturally in the South, going to college and doing all that, that's culture here. That's a big deal. Where I come from in the inner cities of Jersey City, if you made it through high school, that was a big deal. And I knew that I wanted more for her. When I became a mother, I knew even at 19 that I can't live the way I'm living and the way I see grown people around me right now. I don't want that for her. So I think you first have to start with mindset. What are you willing to do? Like, do you really want it? Because a lot of people want things but aren't willing to put the work in for it. I don't believe in giving up. I fall down all the time, but I'm going to get back up every single time. And I think that's just mindset. I think if you really truly want something, you just have to do whatever it takes to get it. But when you create that vision for yourself, like I put some realistic goals in place for me, even at 19. I didn't want to have a roommate. I didn't want to live with anybody when I had my daughter. I wanted to have my own car. I wanted her to be in her own space and have that independence and freedom to provide for her without having to depend on anybody else. Like I left, her father wasn't around. I didn't put his name on a birth certificate. I didn't ask him for child support. I put all my energy into creating the vision that I could, make a reality in those small steps. And then I just kept building on top of that. But I couldn't do that if I had fear. I couldn't do that if I was playing the victim. I couldn't do that if I was still mad at other people or was entitled to anybody else owing me anything. Parents or not, I didn't. I released any energy from that. And my only focus was being the best person I can be and giving my daughter the best opportunity that I can provide. So,
That's a lot. That is
yeah,
not an easy task.
it's not, but it's possible. I did it.
Obviously, it's possible. Did you do it alone? Did you seek help? Did you have support? Did you have a mentor?
I didn't. I really was on my own. I really was on my own. I wasn't connected to my family at the time. I did not get along with my mom's husband. So I stayed with my grandmother through high school. And then when I left, because the rule was, look, can't be here if you're pregnant. And I got pregnant early. So I had no choice but to get up and get out and figure it out. So unfortunately, I feel like I'm my strongest when my back is against the wall, and my back was against the wall. So, I just said I have to figure it out. I'm a very solution minded person. So if I got to get it done, I'm gonna get it done. But the biggest help that I think helped me when I moved, when I had her, is getting around other mothers. I think that was the biggest part, because childcare is one of the hardest things that you can have when you're a single mom. So, and because I didn't have family around, not my family or her family, and getting mom friends at work and stuff like that, and then switching off shifts was a big deal. So that is kind of how I like be able to maintain that. Like, okay, if I work at night, then I'll watch your kids during the day. If I work at night, you watch my kids during the night. And that's how the mom club is what I called it, and that's what really got me through.
That's amazing. That is
Yeah.
so great because childcare is one of the biggest hurdles in getting yourself together. So as soon as you
Yeah.
came to the South, you got your little mom club, and together you were able to rise up.
Yeah.
Are you still in communication with any of them?
A lot of them, yeah. Everyone's doing good and stuff. Yeah.
That's so great. So now you've got these two daughters. They're watching Mama. Mama has made it. Mama has thriving businesses. And do you think it's influenced them to be entrepreneurs themselves?
I definitely would love for them. We've always taught them not to work for anyone else, to work for yourself. But I do understand that entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, and that's okay too. I for sure would rather you be an entrepreneur, or heck, just work for us. But I think, we're in a season or a stage now, even with my oldest daughter, who's 19, little Rod is 22, but he's in college still. And but she is just trying to find her own way, her own lane. Like, she loves me, she's proud of me and the family, but she's in the season where she wants to build her own self up. And I'm just trying to support her in that without the pressure, because the more I push, the more she pulls back. So I've learned to just be like, okay, do your thing. I'm here to support you. And just that. So that's a new thing for sure for us.
I love it. But also, how wonderful to be able to have that space. How wonderful to
Yeah.
be able to have these options.
Definitely. That's the part that is a beautiful thing. And even I've had to learn to accept, because for me, it wasn't an option. Like, if I fold, then nobody eats. So for her to be like, I can try this, or nah, I don't want to feel that. And even though it can be very frustrating as a parent, because you just want to see them follow through, at the same time, I'm glad that I've been able to provide the space for you to have the options that you have, or the ability to, or the flexibility to figure it out as you go.
One of my favorite aspects of mentoring is sharing, the I don't like to call them mistakes, the things I would have done differently to
Yeah.
keep people from falling into the traps that I may have. 'Cause so many traps, so many issues, and avoiding them can streamline the process of raising yourself up so much. What's a fail of some sort that you learned from that in your circle you warn people, don't do like I did?
Oh, well, don't have kids out of wedlock on purpose. That's for sure. Be
Well, okay.
careful how you pick your baby daddy. That is for sure.
Yes, but
Um,
as this is mompreneurs, that's sometimes, this is
let's
our new,
say,
honestly, let's be honest. This is something that I think some of, I don't know, we can talk about this, but the explanation of why is now more clear when we're explaining this to the next generation. Whereas before it was just like, don't have sex, you know?
no, no. Listen, and I'm not listen, and I don't say that from like a judgmental place. I just say that for me, the impact that it has when you have a child, when you create a broken home, let's call it what it is. Unfortunately, I feel like it's a selfish thing that I wish that if I could go back, I could have gave her someone to look up to, because a father is a big deal in a girl's life, in a boy's life. You know what I'm saying? So, granted, I'm sure any mom on here, they got a baby daddy that they don't like, feel me on that. If we could go back, but outside of that part, I just wish that that wasn't a stone that I created for her, because ultimately, if you're upset, you got to be upset at me, not just him, because I made the choice and I should have known better, because now I have denied you of that. In a sense, I take responsibility for it. Did I know it was going to turn out like that? No. But was I really using wisdom at 19? No, I wasn't. Um, but no, I just think that if you are in that situation, I think one of the biggest things are to find your peace. Um, Don't fight with him. Don't You can't make a man be a father. You can't make him show up. You can't make him do anything. I think the biggest part is keeping your peace for your child and being the best mom that you can be. And when they get there, they'll get there. But you can't keep him accountable. I mean, you can put him on child support, I guess. But other than that, you can't make him show up, unfortunately. You just have to show up more on your end for your child's sake.
And that's what you're doing. What about business wise for any moms listening who are embarking upon their version of your first meal plan or
Yeah.
their version of their first training app?
I feel like motherhood is the land of no sleep anyway. So you probably got introduced to that early, depending on your baby's sleep schedule. But I think being a mom, one of our biggest attributes are time management, right? Because we have no choice. We have to have time management. We're on somebody else's schedule for the rest of our lives, including our own. So for me, that's my most powerful tool. I'm great at time management. Um, and because of my life and my freedom, I'm running multiple businesses, but I still have the freedom to show up and be there because of the way I schedule things. Anyone and every business opportunity or any friendship, anything around me understands that my family comes first and they are the top priority of all things. So I don't take an opportunity without discussing it with my husband to make sure it's in line. I don't just everything. And most of my work or that I'm doing is in school hours. So if the kids are in school, that's when I'm getting all the work done I possibly can. Or, maybe when they go to bed, I'm getting some other stuff done. But ultimately, I think balance is a scary word because somewhere something is going to be online. But I think ultimately, as a mom, for your kids to have that peace and for you to keep your joy, managing that is everything.
I love that. And regarding the like time management, project management, are there any tools or platforms or apps or anything that you have found to be invaluable as you manage your family, your husband, your businesses?
I'm actually old school. When it comes to stuff like that, I make lists. I like to write it
Like
down.
a tangible list, like a piece of
Tangible
paper?
list or in my notes on my phone. I make lists and I repeat things out loud. That's how I remember what I have to get done or do. It's on my calendar, it's on my notes, it's on a piece of paper. I remember things like that. If it's just an app on my phone, I'm not gonna do it because that's work for me anyways, right? Social media, doing different things, having to post. But for me, creating a list and putting it on the refrigerator, that helps me and everyone else. So I might be a little more old school with that. I'm not up to date on the app. I'm sure they help lots of people, but I'm a list girl, pen and paper.
Okay, so on list is like check in on functional medicine business, check
Uh
in
huh.
on supplement business.
I got to call, shoot this. Even my content, all the stuff I have to shoot or things I got to get done, it's written down. Okay, I got to call on this day. That just helps me remember and know things.
You bring up content and you are prolific. D- that's a whole lot. That's a whole other job, just
For
doing
sure.
social media. How do you do this? How do you just flip the phone on and just keep it moving, flip it off, and just go on about your day?
I think I've been doing it for a while that it's almost second nature. And then for me, what you see is what you get. Like my social media is my real life, which is why it's so easy. So when I'm creating content, I'm really just turning the camera on. Like it's not that hard. I'm just editing it out when I set the camera up and when I turn the camera off. For the most part, it is my everyday life. And that's why social media is easier for me. So when I tell anybody about building social media, I'm like, being your authentic self, I think, is everything because there's a tribe for you, but God can't bless who you pretend to be. So I feel like just be you and the rest will come together. That's
It
my
kind of
that's
goes
my power.
it kind of goes back to the young woman who trekked with a baby from Jersey to the South. You can't
Yeah,
have fear.
can't have it. You just gotta jump out there. I'm not for everybody, but I'm okay with that because who I am for, you're gonna love me.
Well, all right. So we want to know, like, what do you think you like? You've dropped a bunch of gems here, right? But what do you think your business and life mantra is? Like, what are words that you want to be remembered by, or and that you live by?
I think for me, the biggest thing is I want to be impactful. I want to instill hope. I want you to not just see the pretty face or pretty family and pretty kids or house or any of that, but know that I got it out the mud because I'm not scared to get dirty. And that I want to encourage you to just to get it done. And you can do it all beautifully made. because God didn't make a mistake when he made any of us. And I think that if you can have that confidence in yourself and that can change a mindset in you, then you can take over the world.
I love that. I love it. You got it in the mud and you're not afraid to get dirty. That hasn't changed.
Nope.
Okay, I ask everyone, this is my favorite segment. It's called Mompreneurs Manifestation, where I ask all of our guests what's next for you, what you're hoping comes next, and how we can help to manifest success in this endeavor.
So my biggest thing right now, our main focus, and this is something we just decided even as a family to really take serious and to hone in, is our YouTube channel. We've done some TV, like we were on The Amazing Race, we were on Raid the Cage, which is on CBS, and we've done some reality TV competition, healthy, good stuff. But I think that we're a beautifully made family, and we just want to share that more with the world, to do the very things I said, to impact, to inspire, to just keep it real. Like, just be real out here. I think there's power in that when people see that, it gives them the confident boost to be themselves as well. So we really want to just take our YouTube to a whole nother notch and build out our own channel, our own reality TV that's positive. So yeah, that's the biggest thing we're working on right now.
That's great. Okay, so with that, tell us where everyone can find your channel, find your functional medicine studio, find all the things that you're working
All
on.
the things. Okay,
All the
yes. All right.
things.
Let me do my whole list.
Okay.
Okay, so
You got it.
YouTube.
Is the list written down? You have like
It's
literally.
definitely written down, but I got it memorized. Okay, so YouTube is the Gardner family. It's at Rod and Leticia Gardner, so that's where you can search that. Our private exclusive community, where we do challenges and we do weekly lives on there. Marriage Matters, women's calls, and men only calls as well. That is on G Life Society /join now. That's our exclusive community. Detoxes, the wage trainers, all natural cleanses for your body, because you got to cleanse your body. Is at yourownSkinny.net. Our functional medicine clinic is dynamic3health.com. You can talk to a medical director, a doctor, all our physicians, specialists, right through the phone. You can book an appointment to get everything you need, from semaglutide to testosterone to hormone replacement therapy, all of that good stuff. With our supplement company, which is gshredsupplements.com. So your fat burners, your pre-workouts, your fish oil, your CL, all your vitamins. Oh goodness, what else? Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's Leticia Marie Gardner. So come find me. We'll talk about it all.
She's very easily Googleable. And last question, only because the outlier in all this is your newest business, the functional medicine. Going to brick and mortar, that's a whole different mood, because like you said, when you were doing the meal prep, that was very labor intensive. When you start doing all the online stuff, it's like the world opens, because you don't have to, it's just like a constant machine, right? But now brick and mortar, that's a whole other animal, because you're dealing with the actual location cost, liability, insurance, people's bodies, like
It's a whole
direct.
other level. It took us a couple years to get that up, because there is so much that goes into it. But it's we're in Atlanta, and we want to open up an Atlanta location as well. But this one just opened. But and IV drips and all that good stuff. But we have doctors and nurses and people who are actually doing all of that. So we can just be the face, put up the money for the build it, and they can do all the work. I'm not putting an IV in you.
No, you're not training nobody directly, and you're not putting the IV in them. No, you're not prepping no meals anymore. You have evolved. I mean, one of the best things is you started off small, and you slowly evolved over the years. Like, you're taking on more and more risk, right? And so it's impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, everyone, you heard where you can find all of her incredible businesses and what's coming next, especially with the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening to and watching Mompreneurs. Just a reminder that there is a brand new episode every Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban1podcasts.com. Mompreneurs is brought to you by the Urban One Podcast Network and MadameNoire. Created, produced, and hosted by me, Nancy Wren. Executive produced by Sarita Wesley, Allison McGovna, and Tanya Hoffler-Moore. Produced and edited by Jiminique Miller.